of spider are we talking about here? A big one.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2024 horror science fiction film Sting. The film is written and directed by Kaya Roach Turner and it stars Ryan Corr, Alia Brown, Jermaine Fowler and Penelope Mitchell. Now the film focuses on a young teenager called Charlotte. She's living in an apartment block with her mother, her stepfather, and her baby brother. Her stepfather, Ethan, is like the maintenance guy for the apartment block. His mother-in-law owns like the building, treats everyone like crap, sort of thing. So he goes around, mends everybody's boilers, but he's also an aspiring artist. And this one particular night, Charlotte captures a spider, an unusual spider. She decides to keep it as a pet. She calls it Sting. What she doesn't realise is this spider is otherworldly. It has come from another planet. It grows at an alarming rate and becomes an immediate danger to everybody within that tower block. Right, what are my thoughts on Sting? Well, I mean, arachnid films, can, when they're done reasonably well, can strike a chord with a lot of people. Arachnophobia and things like that. I mean, the eight-legged freaks, all that kind of stuff. There's just something about them. I personally am not. I don't have arachnophobia. I'm not terrified of spiders. I don't like them, but. So I can kind of watch these type of films and get some enjoyment out of them. I would imagine anybody suffering who really doesn't like spiders and just not going to watch this sort of film. And that'd be a shame because, there's an entertaining film here to be watched. It kind of strikes all the right chords. It's got some fun moments in it. It kind of balances itself between kind of dark comedy, sci-fi, and horror. And it kind of skirts each of those kind of genres reasonably well. There are moments in the film where, there's silliness going on and it's a little bit amusing. There's some fairly quirky characters, so therefore they're reasonably memorable in most of them anyway. There is a likable set of characters, and what I mean by that is the family. So you've got the stepfather, you've got the daughter, and you've got the mother. I think possibly where this film kind of lets itself down a little bit in regards to characters is you've got the main character, obviously. So we've got Charlotte, this teenage girl who captures the spider. And she's a little bit frustrating, I suppose, as a character. She kind of makes really poor decisions, quite selfish, all this kind of stuff. And it's borderline whether she is likable or not, I suppose is fair to say. I think some people will not like her at all. Some people will be like me and are a little bit, on the shelf a little bit about it. You can't just make your mind up whether you like her or not. But eventually she kind of comes good and she turns into this badass kind of heroic character for the most part. The effects here have done particularly well too. This spider, this alien spider, definitely, is done well. Early on, it's only like a small thing, and then later on in the film, you see it grow to this kind of huge thing, and it definitely does the job in regards to giving you scares. And the film cleverly as well puts a couple of jump scares in that don't feel cheap only because the jump scares that they give you, it's like, oh my god, there's a spider there, and then when they actually look, it's something else, like a hanging plant or something like that. And it's done particularly well in a sense of you're convinced yourself that it's the spider. And it's fairly graphic in some parts as well. There's one death in particular that stands out, a woman in a bathroom that gets attacked by this spider that, for me, was probably the most impactful death on on the film. When I say impactful, what I mean by that is it was probably the most effective death and the most gruesome death. And you get the usual scenes here and there of the spider climbing into people's bodies and stuff, which, let's be honest, nobody wants to see because that's pretty graphic. There are other questionable moments in the film, when it's dragging humans about, full-size grown humans, it's dragging them about here and there, and you kind of question how the spider, regardless of how big it gets, is able to do that, but it is, and it's not just dragging them a few meters, it's dragging them all over the building in the air vents and stuff. So there is definitely a sense of you got to kind of, put your common sense hat away for this film. And it kind of as well doesn't always follow its own routines. There are some kills in the film where it just kills, and there are other kills in the film where it's storing people, and webbing them up and so this kind of stuff. So it kind of doesn't seem to be following its own patterns as well here and there. But ultimately, I think this is a fairly entertaining film. It's quite enclosed. It's all based in this tower block, if you like, this apartment building. It does what it's supposed to do, and sometimes that can work really well, as we saw in the recent Evil Dead film. If it's kind of enclosed in one area, you can kind of focus on just a few characters and makes it a little bit more claustrophobic, and it certainly does here as well. So yeah, it's entertaining enough, this. I'm pleased that it was what I thought it was going to be when I watched the trailers. Sometimes you can watch these things and everything gets spoilt in the trailers, and they're not necessarily here with this. It's what I thought it was going to be, this film, and I thought it was a pretty entertaining outing. I have to say as well, I thought Alia Brown, who plays the young girl Charlotte, did a particularly good job in regards to her performance. She kind of carries the film, really. She's like the main character. And the film made a decent attempt as well to give us like some real life family issues and problems that her and her stepdad and mum and had, sort of thing, that kind of made you care a little bit more about these characters. So I always appreciate that if an attempt is made so that characters don't just become faceless and nameless, and you've got that thing in your head whereas, I'm not sure I want this character to die now, I know a little bit more about them. And the film does a good job of doing that with a lot of the characters in this apartment block. It probably could have done a few more lambs to the slaughter, maybe, but and it definitely leaves it open for sequel, as you would expect. It's quite predictable, if you like, this film. It's kind of what you would expect the film to be and how it lays out how you expect it to be, and it definitely ended the way I thought it was going to end, which, is either a good thing or a bad thing, depending on how much you enjoyed the film, I suppose. So, yeah, thanks for joining me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this review. I will, of course, be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.